We don't want them in our community. Let them go back to where they came from, because it's my position that if you have a problem with your country, then you stay and you make it better by fighting that government.
The official mascot of the Democrat Party is now the illegal immigrant. All other subgroups and categories have been replaced, including the black voter. And of course, as a group, they're starting to wake up and recognize that, oh, the Democrats aren't really doing anything for us. They're causing all these horrible policies, and Kamala Harris is actually at the head of all of it. So what we're going to see today, of course, is a whole bunch of Chicagoans who are upset with the Democrats' open borders policies. But before we get to the clips, please like and comment so we can break through the algorithms. Here we go.
They were bringing in a lot of military-aged men into the community. I mean, we're not blind, we're not stupid, we're not obtuse. We know what's going on. But unfortunately, the people who run this city, they don't care what the people think. So they started putting them into quiet residential neighborhoods like Washington Park, middle-class black neighborhood. We're still pushing back. We don't want them here. The crime rate has gone up since they've been here. That's a fact. Nobody wants to talk about it, but we live it every day. There are policies on the book in Congress already. They need to enforce the laws that are already on the books. These people are here illegally. Again, they're not seeking asylum. If they were seeking asylum, they would have gone to the first country that would have granted them asylum, which would have been Mexico. What I would like to see them do, if they're here illegally, they need to go back to their country of origin, and that's immediately. We have no allegiance to these folks, okay? We don't care where they're from.
Does the Democratic platform seem to satisfy your needs as far as what you'd like to see with our immigration policy?
But what platform is that? They don't seem to have a platform. They seem to have open borders. Everybody can come here. Listen, people live in their homes. You have a home or you have an apartment. Do you have a front door on your home?
Yes, I do.
Do you have a back door?
Yes, I do.
Are they locked?
They're locked.
Are you locking because you're racist?
No.
You're locking because?
I'm protecting my 4 children that I have at home.
Exactly. Same thing with our borders.
Once that they got here, they started to bring them into the black community. And we started to do research, and that's when I found out that it was Kamala Harris that opened the borders up in California and allowed all the gangs, the Mexican gangs, to come across. And they took Compton and all the other black cities, similar to what we're seeing across the United States today. Legislation is already there with the immigration laws.
Yes. Right.
So we don't need to do that again. Right. That's what the Liberal Party is doing. They're making us think that there's no structure because they violated the immigration laws by opening our borders and allowing these people to come. So I would say with the sheriff, with the citizens, that they should shut the sanctuary cities down and start deporting all illegals who have not come to this country and been vetted and went through the system.
Exactly, right? This is common sense stuff. We have laws on the books to prevent all of this from happening. And yet Joe Biden's administration, headed up by border czar Kamala Harris, has decided not to do anything about it, except for try to get a bill passed that would still allow 2 million illegal immigrants across the border every single year, all right? And of course, I love how it's all broken down. Why do you lock your front door? To protect your family. So why do we have a border? To protect our nation, to protect our citizens, okay? And what is the Democrats' platform? Open borders. Anyone can come across at any time with zero vetting. And maybe you'll have a court hearing in 10 years when we can get through the backlogs of the 20 million people, supposedly, who have come across the border already, cutting in line of all the folks who have done it the right way, the legal way. And of course, Kamala Harris wants to give benefits to all illegals. So we come over here to PolitiFact. Yes, Vice President Kamala Harris endorsed free taxpayer-funded government health care for all illegals. Now, PolitiFact has this rated as mostly false. And let's go down here and see why. Harris has supported giving immigrants who are in the country illegally access to health coverage through her 2019 Medicare for All plan, but she hasn't said it would be free for them or that it would be funded by taxpayers. Well, let's see. If they're here illegally, then they're not paying federal taxes. They're not filing tax returns. And guess how Medicare, Medicaid, all of these healthcare systems are funded. It's through tax dollars. So if they're not paying into the system, then who is? Oh, it's the American citizens who are paying into the system. So that means, of course, they're getting it free of charge on the shoulders and backs of the American people. So try as they might, PolitiFact, to say, oh, this is a mostly false statement. Guess what? It sounds mostly true to me. Of course, the whole purpose of this open borders fiasco is to replace the Democrats' disappearing base, as we're going to see here from Rasmussen.
Kamala Harris is actually winning among people who are not sure whether they are U.S. citizens. But the takeaway here is that in this poll of almost 2,600 U.S. likely voters, a combined 121 voters, which is roughly 3% plus, say that they are not U.S. citizens. And they also say that they voted in the 2020 election. This is a really big number, 93% of them. So these people say they vote and they say they're not citizens. And I think that's an important finding, and one that pretty much only me is bringing to everybody's attention.
There you have it. That's the purpose. That's the goal. We have been warning about this for months. Yes, illegal immigrants are being brought in for a reason, right? Why would the Democrats allow the wide open border if they're not going to gain something from it? And what they're going to gain is votes. As you can see here in 2020, you have illegal immigrants admitting that they voted and saying who they're going to vote for again, Kamala Harris. Okay. So yes, many people would say, oh, but it's illegal for immigrants to vote. Well, it's also illegal for them to cross into this country without being verified, without going through proper channels. And yet somehow that's still happening. Just because you make something illegal doesn't mean it's going to stop unless you enforce it. And that, of course, is what drives us all crazy about the Democrat Party. But now Kamala Harris has to pivot and show herself as a tough on crime, tough on borders person. Check this out.
Kamala Harris has spent decades fighting violent crime. As a border state prosecutor, she took on drug cartels and jailed gang members for smuggling weapons and drugs across the border. As vice president, she backed the toughest border control bill in decades. And as president, she will hire thousands more border agents and crack down on fentanyl and human trafficking. Fixing the border is tough. So is Kamala Harris.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Before we continue, I do want to remind you that Kamala Harris's fiscal policies are a disaster. She is basically a communist and touting communist ideas. So what can you do to protect your 401k or IRA? You can go ahead and transfer it into a gold-backed security with Genesis Gold Group. And if you want to do that, you can just contact them at 1-800-200-4653 or go to angryteachergold.com. Let's get back to the video. Who in the heck is out there buying that Kamala Harris is actually a tough on crime prosecutor? Who is a person that wanted to defund the police? All right. Who is the person who's been in charge of this wide open border? And by the way, this is something hilarious I want to point out. If you actually go back in this video, you can see a picture of Donald Trump's border wall, right? Kamala Harris didn't put that up. Joe Biden didn't put that up. Donald Trump put up that section of border wall. But here it is in a Kamala Harris commercial because she's trying to fool the American public into thinking she's something that she definitely is not. But of course, we all want to see Kamala Harris taking the task over this, which is going to be difficult when she doesn't give any interviews. But of course, J.D. Vance actually is. So let's check this out.
All right. Another big topic in this race is immigration. There has been a lot of discussion about Donald Trump's plans for mass deportation. Yeah. According to one estimate, more than 11 million U.S. citizens live in households with mixed immigration status, including more than 5 million children. If you and former President Trump were elected, would you separate families as a part of your mass deportation effort?
Well, we have to start with the foundational issue here, which is we have 25 million illegal aliens in this country right now because Kamala Harris has refused to do her job.
Very quickly, DHS says it's much lower. It's closer to 8 million. I don't know. Where do you get the 25 million from?
Well, I think the 25 million are the people that should have been deported that maybe weren't deported, plus you had another 12 to 15 million that have come in since Kamala Harris. Look,
DHS
whatever the number is,
that number for the record. They say it's closer to 8 to 10 million.
But I think there are reasons to think that DHS is underestimating. Whatever the real number is, it's way too high, right? It's millions upon millions of illegal immigrants that have come in just since Kamala Harris became the border czar a few years ago.
She was put in charge of the root causes of migration.
Well, the root causes of migration, I would say, Kristen, is that Kamala Harris refuses to do her job as border czar. And let's just start there. I want to answer your question, but I think it's important to sort of sequence this in the right way. So if you want to get control of the illegal immigration problem, you have to stop the bleeding. You have to stop so many people from coming here illegally in the first place. And that means undoing everything that Kamala Harris did practically on day one of the administration. You have to reimpose deportations. You have to stop catch and release, stop granting asylum to every single person who comes in here and says that they need asylum, and stop granting mass parole. These policies are why we have the immigration crisis that we have.
That is how you handle it. You have to, of course, fix the root cause of this issue, which is the Joe Biden-Kamala Harris policy of wide open borders. So you get that shut down. Then, of course, you start the mass deportations, beginning with criminals, right? Because what city wouldn't be happy to get rid of the criminal element? Oh, that's right, leftist sanctuary cities, that too. And of course, as far as separating families, if necessary, you send the illegal children along with their illegal parents back to their country of origin. See, we're not separating families, we're being kind by keeping them together. And of course, this is something that only the Trump administration will do, because Kamala Harris, what the heck does she stand for? Nobody knows. Check this out.
And President Trump is going to draw a sharp contrast with Kamala Harris, who has supported things like decriminalizing illegal immigration, or giving taxpayer-funded health insurance to illegal aliens, or taking away health insurance on the job for 170 million Americans, banning gas cars, confiscating firearms.
What do you mean taking away health insurance? What are you talking about?
She said when she ran for president that she wants to eliminate private health insurance on the job for 170 million Americans, John.
Yeah, I mean that is not her position now. She
How do you know that's not her position? How do you know that's not her position?
I mean, she says she no longer supports
Medicare
for all.
She has not said that. Okay. Maybe anonymous aides on a Friday night have said that, but the last thing that she said on
this was not a radical convention. I mean, she as you heard me go through with Bernie Sanders, she is not taking the positions of the far left of her party. She's clearly making an effort to move to the middle.
I did hear what you said to Senator Sanders, and I thought it was clear that he's very disappointed that she's taking these efforts not to change her positions, but to hide her positions, John. The American people are totally justified to conclude that Kamala Harris is a dangerous San Francisco liberal based on what she campaigned on the last time she ran for president and what this administration has done for the last 4 years. Again, you would have thought watching the Democratic convention last week that the Democrats are not in office, that they're not in power, that they're campaigning against an incumbent Republican, when in reality, she's been part of the failures of the Biden-Harris administration for 4 years. And when she campaigned for president, in her own right, she did in fact promise things like decriminalizing illegal immigration and taking away health insurance.
But that's his position she's clearly changed on, and she has said she has changed. Yes, she has.
No, she has not. John, she has not said that.
Exactly. What are Kamala Harris's positions? No one knows for sure, because she's a complete 180 from where she was just a couple of years ago. So, of course, she hasn't sat down for interviews to answer these tough questions, right? So it's basically just a case of don't believe what I said then, believe what I'm saying now, because I've totally changed my mind just so I can appeal to you, the people at the center of the country, which, of course, is complete BS. Don't buy into it, just like so many other people are not buying into it. And as usual, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, and stay safe out there, people, because they're coming after you.